All right. Hey everyone, NFT Bro here. We're here today with Sam Jenkins, who is Head of Partnerships at Glorious Digital. Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, Josh.
How-
Good to be here.
So, I've tried to do a bit of Googling on you, tried to figure out some things. I see there was a football player. Is that you?
Yeah. So I guess the easiest way to describe my career would be eclectic. Started off as a professional footballer and traveled the globe and played for New Zealand and went to the Olympics and lived that life. But that was a previous life pretty much now. So I'm most famous for actually rugby tackling a player called Ronaldinho at the 2008 Olympics. It's quite a funny story. I won't go into it in full detail, but that's sort of the heights of my football career. And I've sort of transitioned into the corporate world and then into sort of the startup NFT Web3 sort of space over the last 6 or 7 years. So yeah, very eclectic background.
So you are now involved in Glorious Digital.
Yeah, so we're a few hats at Glorious. So sort of head of sort of, I guess, partnerships in our sporting projects and also sort of running our GFM, our Glorious Founding Membership product. So yeah, we're quite a small, agile team, but yeah, a really, really exciting New Zealand company who are, I don't know if people have seen, but have partnered with the likes of Wimbledon, which is, you know, in itself is quite the achievement in the first sort of, 8-9 months of our existence. So yeah, it's that's sort of what I focus on from day to day at Glorious at the moment.
And how many others are involved in the Glorious team?
So we would have 12 to 15, I guess you'd call full-time Glorious employees. And then we have a really incredible creative agency we work with on a lot of the creative. And then we have technology partners like Silo, who are very ingrained in the Web3 and blockchain ecosystem in New Zealand that are building out a lot of the technology. Obviously, there's a play to bring that a lot more in-house. But because it's so new space, a lot of great engineers are migrating to Web3, but it's not easy just to hire 10, 15, 20 engineers overnight in this space. So yeah, about 15 of us at the moment, but yeah, a much wider team. And if you look at like all our sort of partners we have.
How did you yourself make the switch from, the football and everything else across into the NFT kind of Glorious Digital side of things?
Dan Carter, obviously, who most people in New Zealand will know, a rather good rugby player. I got to know him through another company we've got some involvement in called As You Were, which is a menswear subscription clothing company. And we started hanging out a bit, and we both were sort of going through that like early stages of being interested in crypto and NFTs and just trying to educate ourselves. And we sort of used to send out each other articles and stuff. And then after a few months, he introduced me to Scott McLiver, who was the I guess you would call the founding father of Glorious, who had the idea and is a partner in the digital space at PwC. And he sort of brought all the Glorious team together, and I met Scott, and we sort of just clicked and both just, thought Web3 and NFTs were the future. We obviously both realized it's very early, but and then over sort of time and as our relationship involved, he was like, why don't you come and work a bit more closely on Glorious? So that was kind of how it came to fruition. I guess I was always interested in crypto, not to the point where I invested lots of money or got in early enough to, make my fortune, unfortunately. But I always loved the value of decentralization and saw where the world could maybe head. And then when NFTs came along, I was like, this is going to be a game changer. Not from the fact like, some of the big profile photo projects have done really well, but I just think that the overall efficiencies and value and utility that this can add to all sorts of brands and organizations over time, I just think, I'm so excited for what, the next 10 years sort of holds in that space. And then I was lucky enough to invest in the likes of Fluff Ecosystem and World of Woman and those sort of ones really early. So I got in, pretty soon after launch at pretty good sort of prices. So I've done fairly well in the NFT space, but yeah, it's just one of those industries where you've kind of just got to immerse yourself and, you you learn from conversations with others, on Twitter, stuff like content you're putting out. So yeah, that's sort of how I sort of came into this world. But I just feel like, it's such an exciting space to sort of be working in there and even have a hobby in at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. It can be quite tiring trying to keep up with everything that's going on with how quick stuff moves though too, can't it?
Yeah, I've never been in an industry where it moves so quickly. And I was probably I was around when sort of the internet took off and, saw the power of social media early, but I probably wasn't old or mature enough to like understand just how big a paradigm shift it actually was. And I feel like, Web3, although it's got a lot of what I guess you'd call haters, it's still like, I don't think people grasp how fundamentally it's going to change everything, just the efficiency. And that's why I love sort of the blockchain, smart contract automation point of thing. People taking 12 months to get a building permit from a council, like when the technology catches up and it's scalable, like that will take 12 seconds. There's just amazing use cases that are going to sort of come to fruition over the next few years, which that's what really, really excites me.
Just going back to the glorious side of things now, you mentioned before the how a lot of this is profile picture kind of space, whereas what Glorious Digital are doing is quite different, really, isn't it?
So we're obviously focused on what we call digital authentic masterpieces. So I guess the early founders, the likes of Tim, Harper, Murray, Tom, and our art director James Blakey, very much were kind of intertwined in the creative industry here, especially in sort of art and music. So naturally, that's sort of, the core focus originally. We've kind of gone into that athlete space as well, but I guess for us, everything needs to be partnering with the best, and that's kind of where the name Glorious came from. So we've sort of got our sort of, our art and culture. We have some of the top sort of brands and organizations. We've got some of the iconic athletes. And then we've got some amazing musicians, and we kind of overlay what we call a legacy kind of layer. So does that individual or brand have a legacy? And that's not just they've been around 100 years, like for the likes of Wimbledon, which is great because they have such a historic, legacy. And then, the likes of Rita Angus and Gordon Walters, who very, very famous New Zealand artists that have amazing legacies, but also, more contemporary artists or contemporary athletes that have already got a legacy because they're just so brilliant. So yeah, we're definitely looking at it slightly different from, your run-of-the-mill project avatars. But then we also have, the GFM, the Glorious Founding Membership, which is more a membership-based NFT with a lot of utility that's in the works and coming. And then we also have some really interesting sort of projects and, a few properties I can't disclose at the moment, but that will blow people's minds, some of the organizations and individuals that we're currently talking to. So that's sort of our focus, trying to carve out that sort of more high-end masterpiece niche. But then if you look at our art, we're also offering, more affordable ways to get into art. So I'm quite a good target market. So I've always liked art, but I'd never go to a gallery or never know how to buy any art. But when I sort of found, even OpenSea and Super Rare and those marketplaces and now Glorious, like I actually quite like browsing art on there and I've purchased some. So giving someone like me the ability to buy art and then, tap into the Samsung frame to display it. I can change my art in my lounge. If I've got a dinner party and it's something Italian themed, I can get an image that suits that, or something a bit more energetic, I can put a Ruben Patterson on the wall. So yeah, I think it's really going to redefine like the art category, but we're also trying to keep that kind of high-end historic legacy piece and bring that to life, modernize it, and give more people the opportunity to experience that.
The Glorious Founding Membership, so we're going to be giving one away as a wee partnership here. Later on we'll explain, but So how does that work?
Given the success of, I guess, community building in the NFT space, which I think is one of the most amazing success stories to date, and you only have to look at Board 8 Yacht Club, Yuga Labs, Artifact with Clonex, Fluff closer to home is doing a really good job of this. But like creating an engaged community is really powerful, and almost sharing that value and upside with them. So that's kind of a lot of the genesis of the GFM. It's sort of like you are an early believer in Glorious. There's only a thousand of these GFMs, and that's all there'll ever be. And what it does is it sort of brings you into the art world a little bit, but it also touches on all the other things that we sort of do. So what we call an evolving art, or the Glorious View/window. So you basically once a quarter, you get a piece of art that's sort of a window into one of our top artists that you can sort of display and use as an NFT. And then we're also going to lay in lots of other utilities. So we have probably 2 or 3 airdrops a year. We don't really announce who they are, but what you'll get is that's when you'll get full screen art, GFM artwork that then you can sell as an NFT. If you don't like it on the secondary market, you can keep it, you could gift it. So there's some amazing stuff coming there. We're also working with some of the top sort of global New Zealand brands to become brand partners. Again, I can give a little bit of alpha, but we're talking to some pretty amazing brands, and hopefully we can announce one of our sort of blue chip key partners in the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks. And one of the things that founding members will get will be like 40% off from this brand on certain items. Other brands we've got, you'll get offered different experiences. We also want to offer those real rare kind of experiences. So for example, we might know that 40 of our Glorious founding members love rugby, so we'll take them to an All Blacks test, in a box, and they can hang out with Dan and stuff like that. Or we'll host them at a night at a restaurant. 20 of our members. So what we'll be doing is creating, obviously, ongoing events. There'll be some bigger events, but also some micro events. If you're a member, you get offered access to certain, money can't sort of buy experiences. So yeah, I guess with the GFM, it's like, how do we add constant value? So, airdrops and utility that, you can sell or keep and appreciate and value, but also how do we reward those members with sort of experiences and access and things like that? So that's sort of what we're trying to do. And then how do we make that obviously appreciate over time? So it becomes one of the most valuable, NFTs or cultural memberships in New Zealand that people sort of really want to be a holder of.
It being a GFM, you get access to these art drops first, don't you? And you get the fixed price. So some of these have been selling out pretty quickly.
That's probably the best benefit. Well, not the best, but one of the top benefits, and one of the reason we have, especially all the art aficionados own GFMs, because you get 60-minute window to mint our limited edition drops. So we've done Rita Angus Kaz. That was an edition of about 12. That sold out in about a minute. And then Gordon Walters Maho was an edition of, it might have been 12 as well. And that sold out in about less than 10 minutes. So these sort of more limited edition drops are really sort of, exclusive. And the GFM is the best way to sort of guarantee access to that. And we've got Fiona Partington, this incredible piece she's done that comes out in a couple of weeks. And that's an edition of 100. So slightly lower price point at 0.6 ETH. So, with ETH being a bit low at the moment, $1,800. And that's to encourage, you don't have to always have $20,000 to buy this art. There is going to be different price points depending on your budget and taste and stuff like that. So again, GFM holders will get an hour window to, if they want to mint some of those 100 in that time frame. So yeah, that's a huge benefit of being a GFM holder.
So you guys have your own marketplace for all of this, don't you? I mean, I was reading about the sustainability side of things.
Yeah, it's all on a SensNet blockchain, which is very eco-friendly and sustainable. That's one of the key pillars for us as a New Zealand company and a green company. And you read a lot about in the media around mixed messaging on environmental issues. So we just wanted to make sure as a company, we're really sustainable and doing all we can in this space, because we see this as the future. And that means as a corporation, eventually when we get bigger and bigger, we need to be responsible from day one. But yeah, we've got our own marketplace. It's really, I guess, I would call it a lot more sort of like targeted around art and versus, run-of-the-mill OpenSea, which is a lot more sort of like more trader volume. But it is interesting to see, for example, Maho minted for a 3.5 ETH. Originally, it sold out obviously very quick. We had one sell a couple of days ago for 7 ETH. So regardless of whether, you're an actual art lover or you want to be a speculator, like a lot of people are in the NFT space to make money, like these are also, potential, and I can't give out investment advice, but these are potential investments given the supply and demand is low on the supply side. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, some of those people that picked up those early Rita Angus's and Gordon Walters, if they hold them for the mid to long term, do really well out of them. So we want to encourage, people that do want to, trade and speculate. There's nothing wrong with that as well as the I'll buy this and it'll be in my wallet for life and I'll never leave it and I'll display it on my Samsung frame proudly. So yeah, we're trying to cater to all those sort of types of collectors.
Are you finding that the people that are buying GFMs are maybe people who have never owned an NFT before?
Definitely some, and that creates an added step around education. So just educating people around, how to buy Ethereum, how to create a wallet, how to transfer things, how gas works. So that's definitely a friction point, and I think the space in general, it's a massive friction point, and it's probably why you've only seen a couple of million people globally sort of buy NFTs. I think again, it's a huge opportunity if you're early, but it also means that, I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of years if there's 200 million people that own NFTs or more once that sort of onboarding user experience becomes easier. So yeah, I would say a lot of people are new to this and we have to sort of communicate that. And one of the reasons I wanted to sort of get on your Instagram and show was we still feel like there is a missing link for us, and that's tapping into the more NFT crypto space. We see, our offerings are slightly different to what they're buying, but if you're sort of wanting to diversify your portfolio, or this is something that you can get your father, husband, wife, mum into, and art's quite a good segue into sort of understanding it and why it works. So we're definitely looking, how we can add, and we've got about 250 odd GFMs left. So yeah, we're just going to do another push now and sort of get those sort of sold out, hopefully in the next sort of couple of weeks, because there's a lot of utility about to be sort of announced coming out. So yeah, it'd be good to sort of get a lot of new members and diversify that as well. So obviously bringing in new people to the space, but also having people that have been there, done that, and have a bit more experience. Because I think you get a really nice community if you do that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's partly why I have been doing videos like this, is I want to get new people into the space, because there is kind of something for everyone in NFTs. With these art drops, a lot of people will go, oh yeah, cool, digital art. Is there ever any physical drops, or are you planning on anything like that in the future?
Every drop is sort of curated by us with a fresh canvas. Yes, you follow a similar process, but James Blakey, who is our art director, is probably one of the great sort of art eyes and brains in New Zealand. And there has been preliminary chat around, like, if you wanted to burn an NFT to get a real life version, you can. But a lot of the interesting thing is we've actually seen even some of the really old school art aficionados that are pure and love how a canvas looks, have been blown away by how incredible these look on the Samsung frame. Some of them have said, like, it actually looks better on a frame than in real life. So I think for now we'll probably focus on just really pushing that message and giving that people that aha moment. Like, that's the hardest thing. Not many people have actually seen these on a proper Samsung frame up close and personal. So how do we get more Samsung frames in lounges around New Zealand, in high volume areas, in furniture shops and situations, showing just how incredible this art looks. So yeah, it's a really good question, and there has been some thought around how you have in real life and how do you combine them. So yeah, it's something that's we're always considering, but nothing sort of set in stone. But that being said, each project's slightly different. I'm working on Dan Carter's NFT at the moment, and I won't give too much away because obviously we haven't sort of finalized anything, but some of the utility that will come with like his NFT is really incredible, and it's more in real life utility. And each artist is very different. Some are very pure and all for the art, and some want to connect and engage a bit more with their fans and community and collectors. So it's very much just tailored to the individual project and what we feel is going to have the best outcome for both the collector and buyer, and obviously our artists.
Yeah, so you're mentioning Dan Carter. You guys released your roadmap, was it last week? So that's all for 2022. There's Dan Carter 660. There's quite a few cool things coming up on that. Is there anything like missing on 2022? You're keeping secret.
I guess the airdrops are all secret, and yeah, I mean, I don't want to give any investment advice, but alpha wise, like the price of a GFM now will be a complete bargain, based on some of the airdrops you'll get down the track. And that's like any great NFT project, like that's sort of why the likes of Bored Ape and Yuga Labs and that have become so valuable, because it's like, they're delivering value and utility to their holders. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things in the works. Like I said earlier, you'll be blown away by some of the international brands and organizations we're talking to. Obviously, legality-wise, we can't talk about them now with their names, but like I just shake my head around who Glorious is actually interacting with, and even who is reaching out to us. And then when Wimbledon got announced, like just having an iconic brand like that gives you so much sort of, kudos in the industry and stuff like that. So that's been really great for us as a brand, bringing a lot of sort of credibility to us. Now the hard bit is obviously delivering and executing at that really, really high level. And yeah, the Wimbledon project is going to go live during the tournament. There'll be a lottery system to enter that, which again, GFM holders will get, early access to as well, and some whitelist spots. So yeah, that project is probably like, a lot of our focal point for the next couple of months, because it's just, one of the top 2 or 3 global sporting brands. They're just an amazing brand to work with. And the eyes of the world, are on them for a couple of weeks. So we know we have to be at that, really world-class level to deliver. But yeah, seeing some of the early creative and stuff on that, it just blows my mind what it's going to, turn out like. So yeah, really exciting to be working on those sort of projects.
So for those who missed that, so you're teaming up with Wimbledon, and you'll be releasing you haven't called it an NFT project, but it's essentially something along those lines, isn't it?
It's an NFT project with a limited release with amazing creative. Again, my hands are slightly tied. I can't announce too much. But yeah, like just seeing it evolve over the last few weeks, just really exciting. And again, I would become a GFM member just to potentially have access to that drop. So yeah, really exciting.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of people who follow me who will be annoyed if I don't ask this question, probably. So, there's Sensnet, so you're probably, and Silo, so you're probably involved in there somewhere. When will we know more about this? And is the art, I'm not sure how up to date you are, but boroughs, you can now display art in your borough. Would there ever be a crossover there?
Well, funnily enough, the likes of Aaron are sort of passively involved with Glorious behind the scenes. Aaron, obviously from Fluff, and he's been a huge support to some of the senior leadership team, and the likes of Scott and Tim are constantly talking to Aaron, and they're so, I would almost say that they're so far ahead of the game. It's actually scary, and it's so inspiring seeing what they're doing, and I almost feel like they're too far ahead of the game that people even understand how awesome what they're building is. And I love all the interoperability and thinking behind what they're doing. And I've got a NFT club we call the DG and Kiwis, with some fairly prominent New Zealanders that I won't name, but we're quite deeply entrenched in the Fluff ecosystem and own all sorts and really love it. And Scott won't mind me saying that he's very much, thinking around like, what is the sort of, segue and where that sort of partnerships sort of end up. So yeah, there's definitely stuff happening behind the scenes. There's nothing sort of formalized or anything. But yeah, I just feel like they are doing such an incredible job. I almost feel like if they were in America, like they are on the level of like Yuga Labs net without having raised $600-800 million. But in terms of their like thinking, creativity, execution, they're the very best of the best. So that's a great kind of Kiwi success story that I don't think people probably understand just how incredible these guys are. And I think there'll be a tipping point where people will cotton on to the fact that, Jesus, these guys are ahead of the game, or they go into a bit more of a hype marketing overdrive because at the moment they're just heads down building and just releasing so many awesome things. So they're definitely an inspiration for us, but there's definitely a close connection behind the scenes there for sure. And we're learning lots off each other. And I can see that partnership being, really strong into the future.
Yeah, I saw Aaron today posted that he's signed some deals, so we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, I think we're definitely early in this space, and it'd be cool to be able to put some glorious art in our burrows at some stage.
No, 100%. That would be awesome because, and that's kind of like, we could talk for hours on end around like the metaverse and where this will end up. But I think, the main point is like we're early, but we are on a really interesting journey. And I think being early is a really exciting thing. And I just can't wait to sort of see what evolves. And you've just got to be agile as an individual in this space, as a hobby, right through to a company. Everything, it changes all the time, learning all the time. And like you said, it's a very easy space to get too caught up into, but it's almost like if you don't sort of focus on sort of what are the trends and what's happening, sometimes if you don't do that for a couple of days, you're like, wow, the game's changed. It's just nuts. I don't know if you saw A16Z's crypto NFT Web3 report yesterday, but there was one interesting slide in there. It was like talking about like creator revenue royalties and stuff. And it was like Spotify pays out, I think it was $7 billion a year to artists. And that was like 11 million artists. So they got an average about $600 a year. And then NFTs were 4 billion paid out to like the creators, and that was only 22,000 creators like had created projects and whatnot. So it was literally like 175 grand a creator. So the discrepancy around Web 2 and Web 3 in terms of like creator and efficiency is amazing. I think Facebook was worse. They've got billions of users and pay out 300 mil to creators. It was like 10 cents a user. So the whole platform paradigm shifts, it's just going to get, more interesting and more interesting. But yeah, Web3 is going to be huge, regardless of, the headwinds it's going through at the moment. Like it's just going to unlock so much value through the whole sort of creation and supply chain. So yeah, I'm just excited to watch that unfold and get a fairly early seat at the table.
Yeah, for sure. And as it evolves, there's going to be more and more creatives, musicians, artists who are dying to get into this space in some way.
Definitely.
So pretty getting close to the end now. So we are giving away a GFM, a glorious founding membership. So there's only 1,000 of these available, and most of them are sold, and they are 0.75 ETH each, aren't they? Which is probably about 2.5K New Zealand at the moment. So it's pretty epic prize, really.
Yeah, great prize. And like I said, I cannot give investment advice, but I personally have bought a couple of extras myself. So yeah, it's a really great prize.
So how we're going to do it is you have to follow Glorious Digital on Instagram. You have to follow NFT Bro myself on Instagram. Tag two mates in the comments, like this video, and also that'll get you in. And if you want to get an extra entry, chuck it on your story so that everyone else can see it. Share it with your mum, share it with your dad or your cousin. Get it out there for everyone to see. But yeah, this is a pretty epic prize. So thanks for getting involved.
No worries. Yeah, just get those entries in, and we look forward to welcoming someone from your community into the GFM family. And Yeah, thanks for your time, Josh. I love what you're doing and helping educate a lot of people in New Zealand and probably offshore as well. Because yeah, I think that's the one piece of the industry that's no one's really nailed like holistically, like the whole education piece. There's a lot of sort of people doing it well in pockets, but you know, to get that sort of wide mainstream buy-in, I think, you know, it's the people like you, you know, educating someone who tells three friends, and there will be a sort of flow-on effect over time. So who knows where we'll be in 12 to 18 months, but yeah, it's exciting, I think, journey we're on for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a crazy space. And then you could probably spend more than 40 hours a week doing videos to educate people on this space.
Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Oh, thanks very much for your time today, Sam.
No, thanks, mate. And yeah, anytime you want to catch up and chew the fat on NFTs or Glorious or anything else, just let me know.